I love Alcatraz, my 240-gallon African cichlid tank, and I also love my 180-gallon American cichlid tank. But things have to change. And today is the last day you're going to see him. Here we go. What I meant to say was that today is the last day you're going to see these aquariums where they're sitting, because with my son's help, we're going to be moving these aquariums to different spots in the house using only these heavy-duty furniture sliders on 4 wheels. We'll have one on each corner, and they're supposed to be able to handle up to 1,800 pounds total, 450 pounds for each slider, which seems like it should be okay, but 1,800 pounds is a lot of weight to be putting on 4 of these. I won't be all the way up to 1,800 pounds, but the stands are about 400 to 600 pounds each, I'm guessing. The tanks are between 250 and 400 pounds. I want to leave some water in there, so that's probably going to be about 200 to 400 pounds in each tank. Sand, it's just making me a little anxious. And what fish keeper wouldn't be anxious when they're moving their tanks around on these little things? So will this be an easy process moving these around? I sure hope it is, but if it works, it's going to be sweet. If it doesn't, it's going to be a disaster. So which one is it going to be? Stick around. Well, I'd been stressing about this for months actually, and after a lot of research, I came up with this devious plan to use these small furniture and appliance movers. I wanted to try to move the tanks with the stands. If I moved the tank separately, I'd have to remove all the sand because otherwise it'd just be too heavy. But moving the stand with the tanks would be nearly impossible without the help of a dolly of some sort. I'll be moving the 180 to this small room right around the corner. It's not the ideal location for the tank, but my options are pretty limited. Alcatraz will just go right around the corner from where it is now to where the 180 was. Alright, first things first. Disconnecting the filters and unhooking all the power. The cool thing about these canister filters is that once you close the valve, the siphon is preserved, so once you hook it back up, the suction will still be there. It'll be like nothing ever happened. No priming required. Also, if you don't have your canister filters in totes with a water detector, then that should be your next project.
Do it!
Pulling this baby out of there, and I can leave the rest connected to the tank. It's coming along for the ride. I wanted to drain the tank almost all the way, leaving enough water so that I wouldn't have to remove all the fish. First of all, catching the fish to put them in a tote and then catching them again shortly after to put them back in the tank would be more stressful to them than just leaving them in this case. Also, at least with the 180, I'd have to remove the big branch in there to even be able to catch some of these guys, and that'd be a real pain in the ass. My son and I already slid the tank out from the wall a few feet to make some room, and now we'll be using a 4x4 right through the stand to lift the whole assembly a few inches. Just testing ourselves right now to make sure we're man enough to do even that. And it turns out our manliness was in question. Hey, and guess what? We're real men after all. We maybe could have even gone an inch higher, that's how strong we are. But we were completely incapacitated the next day due to muscle pain. Just kidding, kinda. Now with the help of my daughter Abigail, we'll lift it up again, and she'll just quickly push the dollies into place. Did the same thing on the other side, locking the wheels in place on the first set. After unlocking the wheels again, let's get this thing rolling. Much harder to push than I thought it would be, but still way easier than any other method I could think of to move this. This is still really heavy, by the way, and I'm just glad the wheels haven't broken off and sent one corner of the tank to the floor. Can you imagine one corner down and then maybe the entire tank topples over? And that's been my worst nightmare, by the way, for the past several months, both in my sleeping and waking moments. Inching this big load along toward its new home. And look, it's a good thing my grandson was there to help, or we never would have made it. But wait. This small hallway by the bathroom is proving to be a bit more of a problem than I'd hoped it would be. It's a really tight fit getting the aquarium through this entry at this angle. I'm cutting out the part where we stood here for about 5 minutes trying to figure out what to do, just to help preserve what's left of my audience at this point. Oh, and if you're still here, then make sure you
subscribe or someone dies. Ding ding.
So we got it going again, but then making this sharp turn caused a bit of a dilemma. You see, one of those fancy mini dollies has started to wiggle free, and that's a bummer because we can't lift this thing in these small confines anymore, so we'll have to think of something brilliant to rectify this situation. We put our big brains together and came up with this amazing solution. Beat it into place with a mallet.
No, you need to hit the other way.
I own you, tiny dolly.
With that problem solved, it's smooth sailing from here. Back into place, we were able to easily scoot it into the small room. By the way, if you have a really heavy tank, make sure your floor can support the weight. I checked with the engineer that our home builder uses to make sure that the tank would be fine in this room. Unfortunately, the only place it can go is right in front of this window. But hey, what's more important, a window or a fish tank? If you're watching this video, then I'm guessing we all share the same opinion on that. And look, the fish seem to be doing just fine after all that. Let's get some water in this thing. Filling up my tote in the tub, and the Cichlid Ultra Zero submersible pump is doing all the work for me, just the way I like it. Water clarity is horrendous, check, but that'll settle down once I let the filter do its job. And I don't even know if the geos are aware that anything happened at all. Business as usual. Now it's time for the ultimate test of those little baby dollies. Moving Alcatraz. Filling up this tote because the tank is definitely too heavy to lift with any water in it. I have to catch all the fish to move them to the tote, which means more stress for them since I have to catch them and move them twice. Once to put them in the tote and then once to put them back. But there's just no other way, and most people do this when they move their tanks anyway. It's just nice to avoid it if possible. Let the draining begin. Gotta get all the decor out too. Here's some action shots for you of me struggling to catch him with only one net since my other one skipped town. No idea where it is. I'm trying to move somewhat slowly and smoothly so I don't freak him out any more than I have to, but it's hard. When these guys get spooked, they can dart into a panel and knock themselves out or even become dead. And I prefer live fish, so I'm careful. With all the inmates in their sweat box, that's what they call their prisoner transport vehicle in the old days, the Ultra Zero will suck just about every drop of water from the tank since it sucks from the bottom of the pump and not the side. Link is in the video description if you'd like to get one, by the way, which you should. Same deal with lifting this baby up as with the 180, but it's harder and my son looks different because he's actually my neighbor playing my son. Not a great physical match, but you can blame the casting director for that one. Fortunately, this tank only needs to go around the corner, which is a blessing because at 8 feet long, there's no way we could maneuver this thing through a tight hallway like the last one. Sliding it into place, easy as pie. I'm filling the tank back up, and it's good to get the inmates back into Alcatraz as soon as possible. I almost feel like I'm cheating, catching him in this little tote, like stealing candy from a baby. Look, I got multiples, God bless him. And
into the mud, scum queen!
Bonus points if you can tell me which movie that's from. And watch as the tank fills up. It's mesmerizing. Getting the filter hooked back up, and just look at them. My happy little psychopaths, my babies. And the normal fish are doing well too. They're practically starving after their big day. So yeah, I moved these tanks around with my little movers without too much of a fuss. I mean, it was pretty easy. So what do you think of my moving plan? Was it a good one? Or maybe you've moved big tanks before and you have a much better way of doing it. If you do, make sure you share it in the comments. So now you can see over here that I actually have my new tank in place. I just haven't set anything up. So my next video will be setting everything up in my 10-foot long South American, Central American tank. And here's a bonus for you. If you haven't had an adventure lately, then you need to have one. And it doesn't have to be setting up a huge tank like this over here. It can be something like just going on an all-day road trip or making a new friend. But life's too short to not have adventures, so make sure you get one. Until next time, when I'm setting this thing up, that's a wrap.